And so there was one particular phenomenon that this surah begins with, and that has to do with, a domestic disturbance. Basically, you have a husband and a wife that get into a nasty fight. And of course, when, things get escalated between husband and wife, there may be a tendency to say some extreme things that you don't really mean, or maybe you say them and you're so angry that your anger doesn't subside in a day or two or a week even. You just say them and, you're off. Now, what happens in this case is the husband does something in the Arabic called dhihar, like the sarf of it. You should know dhahara yudhahiru. Finish it off for me. Dhahara yudhahiru dhiharan wa mudaharatan, right? Fahuwa mudahir. So dhihar was an Arabic phrase used to say that the husband got so mad at his wife that he said, "You're like my mother. From today on, you're like my mother." And dhahar literally is back. Like, I'm not, you're like the back of my mother, which basically means I am not interested in you ever again. I don't want anything to do with you, and I will never look at you. I will look at you as though I would look at my mother. Basically, we're done. Our relationship is finished. It was a disgusting thing to say, but there was this case of a husband and wife, a sahabiya, Khawla radiallahu anha, whose husband said this to her. And she had little kids, and now she's out of the house and she doesn't know what to do. So she came to the Prophet ﷺ saying that this is what my husband has said. Because back in the day, in the Jahiliyyah times, pre-Islamic times, basically when you call your wife your mother, it's done. It's their form of talaq almost, right? That it's done with, it's over. And he wants, the relationship is severed forever. So she says, what should I do? And the Prophet ﷺ is silent because revelation hasn't come to inform him of the answer yet. And this is actually, in and of itself, revelation. That in and of itself is revelation. Because you have to understand the subtlety of when the Prophet responds, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and when he doesn't respond. Sometimes people would ask him and he would respond immediately. And then revelation would come. So it's not like he was waiting for revelation to come to respond. But sometimes it would be even a form of revelation for him not to respond. That he would something in his heart would tell him, an ayah is going to come about this. I can't say anything about this. And in other cases, he would say something. Like, there are examples of that in Quran. People came and asked him permission. Can I not go into the battlefield? And he responded immediately, yeah, sure, you can stay behind. Then the ayat came down, why did you give them permission? You shouldn't have given them permission. SubhanAllah. And sometimes he wouldn't respond. He would say, no, I'm going to wait for revelation to come. And actually, even in the case where he gave permission, and then revelation came, even that at a subtle level, at a very, covert level, even that's revelation. Because if he didn't give the permission, the ayah wouldn't have been revealed. Right? The ayah needs to be revealed, and the ayah needs to address that particular kind of problem. So even him giving that permission is a form of revelation. That is a form of revelation, because it facilitates, the Quran being revealed for that particular circumstance. Anyhow, so, she keeps on complaining, or she keeps, begging the Prophet ﷺ, I have little children, what am I going to do? And she's desperate and she's crying, and the Prophet ﷺ is holding back. And then she turns to Allah and she makes this plea to Allah, Ya Allah, help. And this ayah is revealed in this situation, this concept is revealed. And that's what we're going to see in this surah, in the beginning. قَدْ سَمِعَ اللَّهُ قَوْلَ الَّتِي تُجَادِلُكَ فِي زَوْجِهَا. Allah already heard the word of the one that was debating with you, arguing with you. Give me something, give me a solution about her husband, fi zawjiha. This ayah, from a linguistic point of view, is also a dalil that the word zawj can be used for husband or wife. That the word zawj can be used for husband or wife, because the word zawj here is being used for husband. Other places, the broken plural of zawj, azwaj and mutahhara, wives. So it can be used spouses, in the meaning of spouses also. Okay? وَتَشْتَكِي إِلَى اللَّهِ. Ishtaka yashtaki means to complain. And to complain with, like shaka yashku in Arabic is also to complain, but ishtaka is to complain a lot. It's the mubalagh form, it's the ifti'al form. That's more powerful. She was really complaining to Allah. Wallahu yasma'u tahawurakuma, and Allah Himself was actually all along listening to the discussion both of you were having. Tahawara, let's try the sarf here, let's see how good you are. Tahawara, yatahawaru, tahawuran, that's the masdar mentioned in the ayah. Tahawurakuma. That's the masdar of tahawara, yatahawaru. From hiwar. Hiwar is conversation, dialogue, back and forth. Okay? Back and forth. Like in Surah Al-Kahf, وَهُوَ يُحَاوِرُهُ. He's just talking to him. But this is a mutual exchange, and tahawur is used to suggest that the conversation was courteous, that the Prophet ﷺ was being courteous with her. If it's, a more intense conversation, then the more intense pattern is used, which is hiwarakuma. Hawara yuhawiru. That's more intense. That can even be offensive. And actually in Surah Al-Kahf, hiwar is used, not tahawur. وَقَالَ لَهُ صَاحِبُهُ وَهُوَ not يَتَحَاوَرُهُ, but يُحَاوِرُهُ. وَهُمَا يَتَحَاوَرَا, no, يُحَاوِرُهُ. So it's more intense actually. So Allah saw your exchange among each other. إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ بَصِيرٌ. Certainly Allah hears all and sees all. الَّذِينَ يُظَاهِرُونَ مِنْكُمْ مِنْ نِسَائِهِمْ. Those among you that have done this despicable act of declaring their wives their mothers, مَا هُنَّ أُمَّهَاتِهِمْ. They are not their mothers at all. That's the end of that problem. مَا هُنَّ مُبْتَدَى أُمَّهَاتِهِمْ خَبَرْ. Finished. Okay, and the ma is for refutation, right? No, that's a stupid thing you did. You're wrong. You could call her you could call her an elephant. She's still going to be your wife. You can call her your mother, your sister, your grandma, your grandpa. It doesn't matter. She's still going to be your wife. You can call her whatever you want. That will not change the relationship. And this is actually something across the board in Islamic relationships. وَأُولُو الْأَرْحَامِ أَوْلَى بَعْضُهُمْ بِبَعْضٍ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ. Right? The relations of the womb and even the relations of marriage. They have a precedent in Islam. They are وَأَخَذْنَا مِنْكُمْ مِيثَاقًا غَلِيظًا. They've taken a severe contract from you. It doesn't just get severed by some exaggerated speech. It doesn't disappear. And this is even true of the most intense loving relationships. Not just this was out of hate, but even out of love. In Surah Al-Ahzab we learned when the Prophet ﷺ out of love declares, Zayd radiallahu anhu his son, it's not enough. You can call him your son all you want, he's still not your son. He's not going to have a shared inheritance. He can't take your name. He can't be Zayd ibn Muhammad. You can't change his name. Because his identity will not change. Out of love you can call him your son. The same way you can call somebody ammu, uncle. Doesn't make him your dad's brother. It's a term of respect. These things don't actually have an impact on actual relationships. And the same is true at the MSA, guys. She's like my sister. Okay, yeah. She could be like your sister. But she's not your sister. And your sister is your mahram and she's not. So stop playing with words, because that's not going to change anything. That doesn't change anything. Or you say in your extended family, sometimes you have extended family and you get Eid get-togethers, right? And siblings are there, cousins are there, and you're like, oh, my cousins are like my sister, right? She's just like that. We were raised together. I used to slap him when he was little. So it's okay that he's 19 and I'm 18 and we're, watching a boxing match together or something. It's okay. We're just having fun. It's just like my brother. He's not like your brother because he's not your brother. Saying it doesn't change that. Okay, so ma hunna ummati. And of course the other negative example is very common among Desi culture. From today on, you are not my son. Don't call me your mother ever again. No, mom, I'll call you mom. You can't change that. Father says, aaj ke baad tu mere bete nahi ho. Yep, I am. Can't change that. Sorry, you're stuck with me and I'm stuck with you, Dad. It's gonna be like that. This is lihab. But the ugliest form of it, obviously, between the husband and the wife. And this also suggests that Allah took the license away from husbands to be able to say whatever they want in the confines of their home. That even that got heard. And that got addressed by revelation of Quran. And it's a few things, right? This is first in the beginning of the surah. 2, the surah is named by that discussion. Mujadala, the debate. Debate between who? The Prophet ﷺ and this woman. The surah got named by that. And not one. 4 ayat on the same issue. 4 ayat on the same issue. First, that he heard her complaint, which means her complaint is legitimate and important enough that an ayah of Quran should be dedicated to it. 2, that then on top of that, it should be refuted. مَا هُنَّ أُمَّهَاتِهِمْ إِنْ أُمَّهَاتُهُمْ إِلَّا اللَّائِي وَلَدْنَهُمْ. Their mothers are nothing but those women who gave birth to them. This is alladhina. Alladhina's feminine form is allati and allai. This is allai being used here. Inshallah, when we do a literary study of Quran one day, then we'll study the difference between allati and allai. Sometimes Allah uses allati, and sometimes He uses allai. There's a subtle difference between them. Anyhow, their mothers are none but the ones who gave them birth. Waladnahum. This is huwa walada, hunna waladna. This is the past tense of the verb. وَإِنَّهُمْ لَيَقُولُونَ مُنْكَرًا مِنَ الْقَوْلِ. And they're saying something disgusting of the things that can be said. مِنَ الْقَوْلِ. Of the things that could be said, they've chosen something very disgusting to say. And the word مِنَ الْقَوْلِ here suggests there were other ways to express your frustration with your wife. There were other ways to get the point across. You just didn't think it through and you just put the worst thing you could have said. مُنْكَرًا مِنَ الْقَوْلِ. And understand the word munkar here too, because inshallah ta'ala, I plan on doing another series. I wasn't happy with the first series I did on Amr bil Ma'ruf and Nahi anil Munkar. I plan on doing another one. But the word munkar comes from nakira. Nakira literally means unknown. That which is unknown. Munkar is that which is unknown. Ankara actually also means to deny. Like if you see someone and say, you know that guy, ta'arifuhu? La unkiruhu. I have no idea who that is. I completely deny knowing him. I have nothing to do with that guy. It's completely unfamiliar to me. That's munkar. Ma'ruf, on the other hand, is that which is easily recognized. Obviously, yeah, I know him. He's ma'ruf to me. He's known to me, right? So the word munkar here this is alien to anybody with a sense of decency. This kind of language is completely alien. Anybody with a sense of decency, unknown to them. And from it stems the idea that it's evil. Because if decent people would never have heard such a thing, that's only because it must have been evil. So the idea of something being unknown or unusual and, disturbing is associated with evil. Because in a good society, in a healthy society, those words are they become unknown. Like, if you raise your children in a sheltered environment, and they don't hear foul language, they don't hear cursing, they don't hear, people like making fun of each other, they don't hear ghiba. First time they hear a foul word, do they even know what it means? No, it's munkar to them. Like, what is that? What is that? Munkaram min al-qawl. Wa zura, and it's a false statement. Zur is actually a false accusation that is meant to hurt somebody. Literally, zur means false accusation that is meant to hurt somebody. It also means false testimony that is meant to hurt somebody in a trial. Allah Azza wa Jalla says, وَالَّذِينَ لَا يَشْهَدُونَ الزُّورَ وَإِذَا مَرُّوا بِاللَّغْوِ مَرُّوا كِرَامًا. Surah Al-Furqan. They don't testify false testimony meant to hurt somebody. They don't testify falsely in court. They don't say, yeah, he did say that. I was there, I saw him. That's zur. So this is serious matter. وَإِنَّ اللَّهَ لَعَفُوٌ غَفُورٌ. And certainly Allah is extremely pardoning and always forgiving, extremely forgiving. And the idea behind that is, look, this is a pretty big deal, but don't let it happen again and forget it ever happened. Move on. Make istighfar. وَالَّذِينَ يُظَاهِرُونَ مِن نِسَائِهِمْ ثُمَّ يَعُودُونَ لِمَا قَالُوا. Then those who did this heinous the crime of zihar, they said that to their women, and then they go back from what they said, they take it back. يَعُودُونَ لِمَا قَالُوا, literally going back from what they said means they took it back. Okay, sorry, I didn't mean it. فَتَحْرِيرُ رَقَبَةٍ مِّن قَبْلِ أَن يَتَمَاسَّا. Then they have to free a slave before they can touch one another. They can't have intimacy as husband and wife again until they pay a penalty, a crime, a tax. And that will be, that penalty will be freeing a slave. ذَلِكُمْ تُوعَظُونَ بِهِ وَاللَّهُ بِمَا تَعْمَلُونَ خَبِيرٌ. That is what you are being counseled to do. That is the counsel being offered to you. And Allah is, especially in regards to whatever you're up to, and fully aware, has full news. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَجِدْ. And whoever wouldn't find such a slave, that also means not like he went around looking for a slave and he couldn't find one, but it also means if you're not capable. If you're not capable of freeing the slave, you don't have the financial means, فَصِيَامُ, seriously, شَهْرَيْنِ مُتَتَابِعَيْنِ. 2 consecutive months. 2 consecutive months you have to fast. 60 days, and mutatabi'ain suggests you can't take a break in the middle and make it up later. Mutatabi'ain. مِن قَبْلِ أَن يَتَمَاسَّا. Before they get to touch one another. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ. And whoever can't even do that, maybe he's sick, maybe he's an old guy, got mad at his wife. Says, can't even stand straight. And he says, from today you're, my mother. And the old lady's like, you have to fast 60 days. He can't even fast 2 hours without his medicine. What's he going to do? Then Allah made another way. فَمَنْ لَمْ يَسْتَطِعْ فَإِطْعَامُ 60 مِسْكِينًا. Then he better feed 60 poor people. And he didn't put a restriction on it, like it has to be one party for 60 people. But it could be overtime. But until he finishes paying off, feeding how many? 60 people. So if not 60 fast, then 60 iftars, right? It's one or the other. But then, there are other conditions. Min awsati ma tut'imun, some fuqaha add here from other ayat of Quran. Not just like you go around handing people like a Twix. One of these. Here. 1, 2, and you take 4 bars right out of this. And just 4 people are covered. No, the same kind of meal you eat. Min awsati ma tut'imun. From the average of what you would eat, meaning what you eat yourself. The kind of food you eat yourself. So you got to take 60 people out to lunch, and they better be poor. Don't take your friends out to lunch and say, okay, now it's done. Whew, never going to say that again. No. Miskeen, they have to be poor people. ذَلِكَ لِتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. That is so that you can believe in Allah and His Messenger. Sallallahu alayhi wasallam. What is the purpose of saying so that you can believe in Allah and His Messenger? لَامَ الْعِلَّةِ لِكَيْ لِتُؤْمِنُوا بِاللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. Because when you pay a penalty in this dunya, and you paid for so long, 60 days of fasting, 60 people are being fed, freeing a slave. These are serious things. And when you're engaged in paying that penalty, every time you're paying it, what's your motivation? I'm making up for the crime I committed, so I don't have to answer for it in the akhirah. So that consciousness that keeps coming back over and over again is a reinforcement of your iman in Allah and His Messenger, sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Tilka hududullah. Those are the boundaries set by Allah. وَلِلْكَافِرِينَ عَذَابٌ أَلِيمٌ. And for disbelievers in particular, there is going to be painful punishment. The ayah is not even about kafirin. The ayah is about believers. And this is a Madani surah. The entire audience is Muslim. The entire, this is going to be a Ya ayyuhal ladina amanu surah. Now, what's kafirin doing here? Because this is a kufr of the hukum. This is the kufr of the instruction. Whoever denies this instruction, doesn't care about it, what's the Prophet going to know what I did in my house with my wife? How's he going to know? It's my personal business. You want to be in denial of it? Well, then Allah will deal with you. Adabun alim. They'll have painful punishment. So we're learning that, the word kufr even is not one broad paint stroke term in the Quran. It depends where it's being used. What are you in denial of? For example, in Surah Al-Imran, Allah talks about Hajj. He talks about Hajj. وَلِلَّهِ عَلَى النَّاسِ حِجُّ الْبَيْتِ مَنِ اسْتَطَاعَ إِلَيْهِ سَبِيلًا وَمَنْ كَفَرَ. He says, whoever can make the Hajj of the house should go. And whoever does kufr, what do you mean? Whoever does kufr? Whoever denies that obligation. Whoever can go and still doesn't go. Whoever is ungrateful for the opportunity. Allah opened the means, the finances, the health, everything is there for you to go and you still denied it. That's a kind of kufr too. You don't go around calling that person a kafir, but that's a personal call. Am I in that crime? Am I in that particular form of this, denial? And that particular form of ingratitude? Because at the root level, that's what kufr means. Denial and ingratitude. Maybe you're denying one instruction. That's one instruction too many. Maybe you're ungrateful for one opportunity. That's one opportunity too many.